Good evening, kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome to our world of darkness, where today we are going to be beginning our adventure in Vampire the Masquerade, Coteries of New York. I have not done anything to see anything about anything of anything for this game. Anyway, I'm excited about this. This is a virtual novel, much like Heart of the Forest, like we played for Werewolf the Apocalypse. And after that game and how emotionally attached I got to the characters in the short time that we got to play that, I've been jonesing. I've been jonesing for another run through, and I figured Coteries of New York is going to be awesome because vampire, and so let's just jump in on this, shall we? You can see I've done nothing. Ooh. All right. Brjuah up here, not down here. Brjuah, Ventru, Toreador. Let's see. Brjuah. The rabble rebel against power and rage against authority. A seemingly insignificant man with significant ideas will join their ranks tonight. The aristocratic blue bloods embody wealth, sovereignty, and control. A top-level corporate executive will join their ranks tonight. Toreador. The divas seek thrills of art, romance, and cruelty amidst this stagnant undeath. A tormented artist will join their ranks tonight. You know what? Let's go ahead with Brjuah, and then on our next run we'll do Ventru, and our next run we'll do Toreador. And we're not going to do these back to back. I'm going to give it time to breathe. Unlike our Bloodlines run, where we've already done Brjuah, Malkavian, Nosferatu, and the hell did we just finish? Toreador. We're gonna take some time in between these, I think. So let's go ahead and start with Brjuah, because a seemingly insignificant man with significant ideas will join their ranks tonight. Oh, Eric. Let's see. We did Miles Trent last time. And I don't have any good significant Brjuah other than that. So, You know what, let's leave Eric. Let's go with Eric. New York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked me about fate back when I was a human, I would have told you it's just superstitious bullshit. That we're all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered when the richest woman in the United States, the actual richest one, not a face you could have seen in the papers, of course, sank her teeth into my neck. It happened in the very same place you're standing in right now, by the way. Fate? You decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was that I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never to see its glow again. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my radiance and thought, that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, enduring gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a ninth-generation kindred, just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me the peak of human excellence, my real place in the food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was about fate. A message saying, you're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was the ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom. It was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys, and me, just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I've learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, today happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you here straight from the plane and having you wake up in such unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you still have that meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much. Don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You're the only one I trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy, asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really exists. And right now, it's smiling in your favor. This is how it begins. The music's pounding, and your pulse is keeping pace. It's one of those nights that makes you feel alive, even though it started with you feeling dead. First came the messy breakup. Then the realization that you have nobody to talk about how much it sucked. Still, you decided to roll with the punches. One Facebook search for local events later, and you found just the thing for your malaise. A short subway ride, and you find yourself at the club just outside Dumbo. Not a fancy one, mind you. More like a slightly refurbished warehouse, but hey, at least the drinks are cheap. The DJs seems to really know his shit, too, alternating between cutting-edge industrial techno and classic Detroit crowd pleasers, expertly feeling out everyone's mood. An hour passes, then 2. Usually, you'd feel awkward coming to a place like this alone, but tonight, you feel something soothing in joining the crowd, blending in, even as you allow the beat to take over. Sweat. Yours, other people's, soaks through your shirt and pants in a matter of minutes. A thought pops into your head. From the outside, the fully packed club must seem like a stuffy, smelly nightmare, but here, in the thick of it, it becomes exhilarating. And you're not even on a pill tonight. There's this Latina chick whose curves are accentuated by a light dress clinging to her body, and she keeps bumping into you. Something tells you it only seems incidental. Yeah, it's a good night. You wish you could last forever because you know all too well what the next day holds. Waking up, getting dressed for work, the commute, the 9-to-5 grind that will make you just enough money to pay the rent and keep living in your overpriced shithole of an apartment. And with Jessica moving out, it'll all be coming out of your pockets. You run some quick calculations in your head and immediately come to regret what you did. Never mind. You spot the Latina again. She's now next to another guy, hitting it off. Your chance of going to bed alone, gone. Just like that. Sorry, your chance of not going to bed alone, gone. Just like that. Fuck. Your mood temporarily shot down. You leave the dance floor and stumble your way to the filthy bathroom. You take a look in the mirror and start to wash your face, obsessively, over and over again. A voice from the past echoes in your mind. I've never felt like this with anyone. Seriously, I mean it. I feel like all my relationships up to this point were test runs. A shitty way to compensate for my own self-esteem. But this feels right. Finally. Shut up, Jess. This was the craziest fucking day of my life. God, I need a smoke. Pass me a light. What do you mean? Cops took the lighter? There's one in your mouth. Just shut the hell up. This is not you. Not anymore. Oh, fuck off. This is so like you. Acting like some sort of Clint Eastwood wannabe when I really, really need you to open up. You think you're impressing people with this tough guy act? Fuck you. I know how broken you really are. You need therapy. Yeah. Now that sounds like the Jessica of today. You raise your head and you look in the mirror. You try to smile, but all you can muster is a self-pitying grin. And there she is, the Latina from before. She says that you look like you need a drink. You hesitate for a second or two, and then blurt out a surprisingly enthusiastic, "Yeah." You start to talk. It quickly becomes evident that she's into politics, and you're eager to please. You might be a corporate drone, but you spend a lot of evenings reading theory, actual theory, not bastardized Twitter cliff notes, and organizing for all the manner of causes online. The status quo sucks. There must be something better, she agrees. You seem to subscribe to the same progressive political theories, have compatible ideas about the DSA's missteps, even watch the same YouTube channels. Your goals are aligned. She's a bit more radical than you would have guessed. You attended a few rallies, but been to a few protests, but this girl sounds like she broke her share of faces and kicked more than a couple of cops in the nuts over a course of her activist career. Her zeal is infectious. She taps into pent-up anger that you didn't know you had. The noisy club stops working for you both, so you hit the streets. Just as you're leaving, the DJ starts playing All the Things She Said by Tattoo. Of course. You chuckle to yourself, trying not to slip into a bad headspace. She chuckles along with you. It's chilly outside. But soon enough you find yourself too invested in listening to the girl's voice to care about anything else. You realize you've been holding hands for a while. The subway car is empty, save for the stoic middle-aged couple and a drunk staring intently at his own feet. Plenty of room to stretch out, and yet she sits right next to you. You can feel her thigh pressing into yours, her breath on the side of your cheek. Maybe it's the booze talking, but you distinctly hear your voice asking if she'd like to crash at your place. I've got a better idea, she says. At this point, you're down for anything as long as it lets you spend a few more minutes with her. She takes you to a sleazy motel in the Bronx. Trading a few words with a balding, tired-looking guy at the front desk, he hands her a key. Still holding your hand, the woman leads you up the stairs. The room you end up in is almost comically stereotypical, complete with flaking paint and sticky floor. Not that it matters, though. The moment you step through the door, she's on you. You try to take the lead, but she's having none of it. Before you know it, you feel the rickety bed pressing against your back. It's sloppy, fun, fierce. And not once did she lose the initiative. Your hands reach under her t-shirt. Strange. It didn't look like she was cold outside, but now her skin feels eerily cool, as if, sensing your confusion, she slaps your hands off her. She kisses your neck. You're overwhelmed by the sensation. Darkness. The taste of liquid fire and smoke on your tongue. Her voice saying, "Sorry, kid. I did what I had to do to leave this city in one piece. But don't worry. With my blood and your principles, you're gonna do just fine." She slams the motel room door behind her as she leaves. You lie helpless on the soiled, pungent mattress for some time. Minutes? Hours? Before you can focus enough to try and piece together the evening, it hits you. The big hunger. It grips you by the throat and makes your inside shrivel in terror. It's an all-encompassing emptiness that throws you on all fours. You crawl for a while, squirm on the floor in sundering pain. Then jump to your feet and burst out the door. You black out. This isn't the room you saw when you last closed your eyes. Somebody curses at you. A small, naked, buff dude holding a short leather whip. Wow. What a goofy motherfucker. He throws a punch. He yells out several slurs. He hits you in the jaw. You black out again. The guy isn't moving anymore. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on his arms. There's blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Wow. Whoever did this is one sick puppy. You realize you're sitting on top of his corpse. You hear a whimper. Someone else is here. A woman. Her arms are tied to the bed frame. Her eyes mask over her face. An eye mask over her face. Red marks on her back. This time, you see it happen. You want to stop, but can't. She almost manages to get a scream out, but it dies in her throat as you bite into the side of her neck. You drink. Blood. You're drinking blood. You could swear you feel her life force escaping her body, entering yours. Suddenly, terrified, you tear away from her. She's not moving, but she's breathing. There's barely a mark on her neck. The guy on the floor, though, you double over in a spasm, realizing what you did. You feel like throwing up, but can only gag. Panic sets in as another realization dawns on you. Your heart is not beating. You put 2 fingers on your wrist, but feel no pulse. Same thing on the neck. Nothing. There's no breath coming out of your mouth. You have to get out. Get someone to call an ambulance for yourself, at least. Probably too late for the dude on the floor. Did you really kill him? Tisk, tisk, tisk. What a mess. You look up. The door to the room is ajar. A tall, handsome, broad-shouldered man fills the entire frame. He brushes an imaginary speck of dirt off his perfectly tailored suit. Hey man, this isn't what it looks like. Well, that's good to hear, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're in a world of trouble. He surveys the room, not moving an inch from where he's standing. He shakes his head in mock concern. Murder. Assault. That's 25 to life if you're lucky. But since you're not, it's a death sentence. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Lucky for you, it's been a slow night. Otherwise, I might not have gotten here in time. Come on. The sun comes up in a few hours. You don't want to be around here when it does. Screw the sun, man. I need a doctor. A doctor? A doctor will do you about as good as an undertaker at this point. The man approaches you and starts talking. His tone remains unnaturally calm. Oddly enough, you find it both soothing and slightly unnerving. Now, listen to me. I know this isn't new for you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you. And going by experience, they tend to fall into 2 categories. First are the smart ones, who carefully obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. I always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And they're the dumb ones, the punks, who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody, secretly and without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotoned. You can tell he's given this speech before, like dozens of times. So you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. It's my one true weakness, one that inspired me to come up with a 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand. Not all of us perform well under stressful situations. But cross me 3 times and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. As he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of a theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, "I understand, sir." Now. You've never been too eager to bend the knee to anyone, but this is something else. The man's very presence instills a primal fear in your heart. With all due respect, sir, go fuck yourself. Strike 1, and watch the language, whelp. Moving on. Is there anything you'd want to inform of your current situation? Tell me. Tell them you're all right. He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason, the sight sends chills down your spine. There's something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you? Jerry. Jerry. Yeah. And who is this Jerry? Your frantic mind is drawing a blank. Well, Jerry is a man of many faces. The stranger gives you a tired stare. Lying to me is a strike, well. Jessica, my ex-girlfriend. She kinda hates my guts, but yeah, I suppose it would be her. The stranger gives you a puzzled look and decides to prod further. The closest person in your life hates your guts. This time, something resembling a look of pity. He turns his eyes to the corpse on the floor. When it rains, it pours, I suppose. Well, if you'd like to ruin her day and let her know you're all right, give me her phone number. I'll have someone take care of it, discreetly, of course. You hand him your smartphone so he can copy the number from your list of contacts. Thank you. This will be useful in illustrating my next point. Instead of giving your phone back, the man hides it in his pocket. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under, and you'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. He interrupts his monotone recitation and stares deep into your eyes. So unless you want your girlfriend to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I'd suggest you cooperate. He proudly displays his fangs again. You've put Jess in danger. God damn it. I can only hope that you care for her enough not to do anything selfish. His words are meant to imply other words, but by now, it's obvious. He hates your guts as much as you hate his. He's itching for a fight, and you're almost willing to oblige. Alright, I think that's enough lecturing for today. We're on a bit of a schedule here. Now, I don't need to hurt you, but I can do so in the blink of an eye. Just so that we're clear, I have the authority to end you right here, right now. This is not an idle threat. So, are you going to play along, or do we have to do it the hard way? You weigh your chances, but it doesn't look promising. The guy's fit, determined, and looks like he meant business. You, on the other hand, are confused, exhausted, on the verge of a panic attack. Yeah, fine. I'll go with you. He almost looks disappointed. Wise decision. Follow me, please. And close the door behind you. You take one final look at the woman who's just coming to. At the body on the ground. This is fucked. Absolutely fucked. You pull the handle and close the door. The man leads you downstairs. You contemplate signaling the bald guy at the front desk, but he's too busy watching some 90s action flick on the small, ancient-looking TV. He seems totally oblivious to your presence. You hear a dejected Jean-Claude Van Damme say, "I just want to go home," as you're walking by. Your would-be kidnapper stops by the door and addresses you before opening it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, as soon as he opens the door, I'm making a run for it. Maybe I can outrun him. I'll save you the trouble. You can't. You can either get inside my car, and I'll get you where you need to be, or you can try something stupid, and you'll regret later. Do I make myself clear? Clear as day. Day. He opens the door and gestures to a black Cadillac Escalade parked outside the building. After you. Following the stranger's instructions, you make your way to the car and get in the passenger seat. The door locks behind you. Inside the Cadillac is almost entirely dark. The side windows seem light-proof. The man gets into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. Who the hell are you anyway? I'm the ferryman, here to take you to the other side. He weighs his next words carefully. You'll have to forgive me. I'm not in the mood to wax poetic. About the stake you're in, and my role of tonight's events, just remember, if you want to survive the next 24 hours, you'll have to play along. Man, this is bullshit. Why does everything have to be a fucking riddle? Well, riddle me this. Who's gonna get their teeth smashed into their brain if he doesn't shut up? Understand that this is for your own good. Times being what they are, you should consider yourself lucky. You drive in silence for about 20 more minutes as exhaustion catches up with you. The streetlights fade into a blur. Eventually, the car stops. The door opens. You emerge from a dreamlike state and find yourself in some kind of underground parking garage. You two are the only ones here. The man points to a nearby door. Go on in. Make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow, and you'll get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. Small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan on the wall. This is all kinds of fucked up. Trust me. You haven't seen anything yet. Just know one thing. Remember, when I said you were lucky, I meant it. See, my job is to get rid of problems. But I'm not always this polite about it. This time, I was specifically told to mind my manners. So believe me when I tell you, considering how this night could have turned out, being stuck in here for a night is a really good deal. Now, get in, or I'll throw you in. Brjuah. Your instincts tell you to run, and you listen. But just a few seconds later, the same instinct is telling you something else. That someone's right behind you. For a split second, it all becomes a blur. Suddenly you feel a sharp pain in your chest and fall down to the cold concrete floor. Just when you realize you can't move a muscle, you hear the man standing above you let out a disappointed sigh. And you were so close. You spend the next 15 minutes zoning in and out before finally giving into blackness. An endless void of nothingness. An endless void of nothingness. An endless void of nothingness. Suddenly, a wet, squelch-like sound rings out in your ears. Then your chest explodes with an excruciating ache. Disembodied, you find yourself being slowly entrapped by horrifying, dead flesh. Then, resurrection. You suck air through your teeth as you wake, hoping this was all a nightmare. A gasp doesn't bring you any comfort, and you quickly realize it's nothing more than a residual instinct. You don't actually breathe in or out, and your heart is as still as it was before. Sight comes back to you. The somewhat familiar surroundings of an underground room come into focus. The humming of his Cadillac engine reaches your ears before his voice does. Rise and shine, fledgling. You've got places to be. There he is, standing in the doorway, expectantly. His suit is as immaculate as yesterday, but his presence strikes you as even more malevolent than before. What did you do to me? He recites his answer monotonously. I fulfilled my sacred duty as judge, jury, and executioner. You went against my rules. I meted out punishment. The man glances at his watch and then turns his eyes to you again. You are expected. Get in the car. You have more questions? Where I'm taking you? You'll get the answers. Probably more than you're ready to handle. You can still let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone about any of this. All right, you're free. An awkward silence fills the room. A handful of seconds later, he breaks it. Yeah. Not even you could be dumb enough to think it would work. I am struggling to come up with a single instance in the history of our world, our whole wide world, that this line actually brought the desired results. You're just testing me, aren't you? Enough is enough. Are you getting inside the car, or are you really, really willing to risk a fourth strike in this match? This better not be some bullshit. Quit your yapping and get in the car. As you sit down in the back, the doors locking behind you, you notice that your clothing is ripped around your sternum. You touch your chest and realize there's a gaping hole there. You can feel your broken ribs and the flesh around them. How am I still functioning? Oh, you finally noticed. Don't worry about it. It'll mend, given the chance. A few minutes later, the sight of your open rib cage becomes just another part of a spectacle you feel almost wholly disassociated with. No breath, no heartbeat, and now a gaping wound with no blood coming out of it. It all makes sense in some perverse way. In a fugue-like state, you start touching it like it was somebody else's body. You drive in silence for a while. You keep trying to catch a glimpse of familiar streets and landmarks through the blackened windows, but it's of little use. The car is also soundproofed, so all you hear is a bit of humming traffic and car engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle, and yeah, the door is locked, all right. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There's nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're hungry? Not exactly. It's not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, back of the head. After a while, the need transforms into an overwhelming wave of anger. You clench your fists and jaws. You kick the wall that divides you and the driver. You feel like screaming. You're fuming inside, but despite trying to cover it up, it shows on your contorted face. Eventually, it catches his eye. Are you scheming something? Keep your impotent rage and keep your impotent rage in check, or else I'll do it for you. Impotent? Just you watch, bastard. You kick to the wall again. Stronger this time. You hear something crack. Is that a dent you made? The car comes to a stop. My patience is wearing thin, fledgling. One last chance. Settle down. You don't respond, instead looking intently to where you think the man's eyes are right now. Oh, are you done? No more obscenities to throw around? Urge to wreck the car gone? Good. Keep it that way. You only glare at him in response. Good. He starts the engine again. You feel exhausted. The anger that you erupted with is now just a smoldering fire, but your hunger remains. It takes you another 20 minutes or so to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York. That much is certain. Queens, maybe? After me. No sudden movements, please. You approach a nice-looking building that houses a 2-story gallery called The Art Hole. 2 large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full, which is unusual for this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite, unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of their eyes in the room calmly observe you, as if wishing to appraise your worth. The last time you felt like this was at your previous job interview. It was like being a piece of livestock inspected from all sides for any imperfection, so your wage could be haggled down. It was dehumanizing. It made you feel dirty. When they called you the next day to offer you the job, you declined. Even when you're a nobody, you become even less if you trade away your dignity for a paycheck. The memory makes you feel warmer inside even now, although the state of your bank account never did. Good evening, Kadir. And you, child? The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, the crowd of strangers. You being brought here against your will. For what purpose? The room awaits your response. Excuse me, what? The Prince of New York City, Helene Penhard, child of Megalania, is addressing you, whelp. My sheriff, this harshness is unnecessary. This fledgling has every right to be confused. She's somewhat plain-looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people. That much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife was abrupt, and I understand your sire's life left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience. But I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. Punish me? Are you serious? For what exactly? The sins of your father, so to speak. We have certain rules. One of them is that it is unlawful to create progeny without the prince's approval. My approval. Your sire never bothered to ask for it. You are about to be judged by the court of New York City. Kadir, please tell us how you found this fledgling and what happened on your way here. Court? Prince? Is this some kind of secret society? Make believe. A trusted informant who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigation, I found them gone, but this fledgling remained in their place. The hunger made him savage, a prostitute, and his client in the Bronx brothel, belonging to one of the ministry. I have already spoken to Sansarik about this and made sure it'll blow over. The fledgling proved to have quite the nerve and an unruly tongue. I had hoped I wouldn't have resorted to violence. Alas, after bringing this young kindred to one of our safe houses, his instincts got the better of him. A shame, but nothing I wasn't prepared for. A few less glance at the hole in your t-shirt. You realize the damage to your chest is almost gone, as if it mended on its own. The first lesson proved sufficient, and he did not oppose me tonight. The drive here was somewhat uneventful. Somewhat eventful. I have a bit of damage to my car's upholstery to get fixed. Thankfully, this young pup managed to control his anger before I had to intervene. The story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. It's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she? You wonder. Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behavior and will take into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there is the matter of your sire. The person who brought you where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? Let me ask you this first. Why do you keep using that word? Sire. What does it mean? Under regular circumstances, they would be your patron and the one responsible for your introduction into our society. Things being what they are, however, I would very much like to know who they are. Indulge me. You find it impossible to decline her final request. Something in her voice makes you want to please her, and you hear yourself speak. A Latina woman, a very radical, unless she's convincingly lied to me. She was special, extraordinary. She had fire, conviction, temper. She seduced me. Easily, in fact. made me think she wanted me. I fell for it, and now I'm here. You stop yourself from saying more, then realize there's really not much more to talk about. A nagging thought enters your mind. How did this prince persuade you with such ease? Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not. Or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. Well, that's as much as you're getting out of me. What now? Now? Now it's time to decide your fate, fledgling. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, my sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask Kadir what that was all talk about the traditions and the council was, when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie. Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir. We all know what the verdict is going to be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands tonight after all. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came in, and you're left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite a pickle. What the hell is this? What the hell's with this party for rich sickos? Looks like something straight out of a conspiracy theory. Everyone here knows a thing or two about conspiracies. But we don't have time to discuss those right now. So I'll stick to explaining what concerns you most directly. Last night you became a vampire. Wait, what? Oh yes. I am well aware of how ridiculous it sounds. It's the reason we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains, the beings called vampires, you're looking at them. They're us. You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale, really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No, not wine. That's not right thickness, and it's not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing a blank. It makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night, there's no denying it, and your breathing has not returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir, deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. If we do nothing, you will be cut down, as sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out, under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and Kadir's complaints about you or behavior won't influence her judgment. This society values docility. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I am not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. What happens if I refuse? I believe I know that the prince will ordain. And I'm certain Kadir will do his duty. My poor fledgling, will die. For good this time. With me, there's a chance you will not. I can be your guide in this new reality. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard, fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating, first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla, gathered here tonight, I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. Their behavior since being embraced has been disagreeable, and that does not bode well for them becoming a valuable member of our society. You are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever before. As our trusted sheriff pointed out, there can be only one course of action. Although I acknowledge some of my council's divergent opinions on this. She takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a somewhat plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin has a somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I hold the final authority over the fledgling's fates, and I declare that while their embrace might be their sire's responsibility, in their absence, it is their progeny that shall be punished. The sentence is final death, to be resolved presently. Kadir. You hear a scraping sound, and see the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is a beautifully detailed blade, which you expect you must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent shape makes you freeze up. 2 outs. Bottom of the 9th. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his contestants. One that quickly vanishes to give him a grim determination. And he's out to bat. Will not get another chance to speak up. You make your choice. I'm not going down like this, damn it, spare me. Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer. Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The bored elites suddenly look at you with aroused interest. Some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward. All eyes are on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take the advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of the law. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance, they could become an asset to our domain. And I understand you are volunteering to take this unruly child under your protection? Yes, I am willing to give him a chance to prove to the entire domain that they can adhere to our expectations. I will take nothing less than their full cooperation, naturally. Whispers can be heard again. An incredulous voice or two. A hushed, just behead the fucker. Some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make a note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend one tradition in this child's favor, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Until the progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility you wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need, yes. But I would like to receive the right of destruction over him, if it pleases you. I'm worth keeping alive, Prince. Give me a chance to prove myself. That remains to be seen. I do take notice of your tenacity. See that it doesn't become a burden. I should grant what you ask. Let it be known Sophie Langley of the Clan of the Rose will become the fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction if she sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of the most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child. Do you use your actual names? My old life is over. Shouldn't I have like a vampire nickname? It depends on the choices made by individual kindred, but for now, I do need a name I can use in an official manner. It's Eric, then. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Eric. Now, this evening proved to be even more eventful than I anticipated. But, with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can conclude. Thank you all for appearing on such short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties. Of course, Prince. He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And, if need be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Eric, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. But let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to our new fruitful partnership. She raises her hand at one of the well-dressed concierges, who have now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guests' glasses. The conventionally handsome man approaches with a carafe of red liquid. He pours it into two tall glasses. You can barely wait until the hands you the drink. Your attention is fully on it. The fact that it's blood, you are certain of it, doesn't faze you this time. While Sophie sips her drink, you realize this hunger can only be satiated by drinking the whole glass in almost a single gulp. As the liquid coats your throat, blissful relief takes hold. A posh woman passing by rolls her eyes at your lack of etiquette, but Sophie pays no mind. Kadir has been starving you, hasn't he? Let's see if I can do something about that. She motions again. The man returns and gives you a refill. This time, you find yourself having more control. You take a sip. Savor it. It's smoky and warm, making you think of a cozy cabin in the woods. It doesn't strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when... It does strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when drinking human blood, but it is what it is. You've never tasted anything like it. Do you like it? I think NYC caterers have very gorgeous ideas of what good blood should taste like. Apologies, you must have so many questions, and while we're on the topic, perhaps we should start with those relating to sustenance. Okay. Say I don't feel cool about drinking other people's blood. What happens if I just stop? I understand your will to revolt against this baser instinct. I vividly remember the painful process of rearranging my morality around it after my embrace. But the simple truth of this is, if you do not feed, your hunger grows. The stronger that hunger is, the more the beast begins to stir. When it awakens, it will take what it craves. Only you won't have any say in how or who. As much as it might sicken you, this is your only source of sustenance now. And no matter how much you drink, you will always be tempted to have more. You can learn to control it. Mind. Best start by taking a single sip from a vessel. Be prudent. Hot, fresh blood will make more satiating than most anything that can be served in a fancy glass, but it can make you more voracious. As to how much you should have, it depends. If you're frugal, you can survive many nights without a single drink, but it's risky, and it will tempt the beast. Tomorrow, I shall take you hunting, and we'll explore this topic further. The blood you're having tonight should be enough to keep you at ease for now. The beast you mentioned, is that a metaphor or... Oh, it's quite real. Although not in a strictly physical sense, it lives in all of us, our nature, in hunger manifest. Those more religious among us connect it to the biblical Cain, the rage of the first murderer, cursed by God, seething in all his descendants. I, however, I am a child of the Enlightenment. Not that it makes my struggle any easier. I have to be wary like every other kindred in the city and beyond. Individual kindred each have a unique relationship to their beast. What yours is going to be remains to be seen. But you do need to keep it under control. Each outburst endangers not just you, but also the masquerade. The concierge returns, asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile, and leans in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. I'm being told the gallery is about to close. But we still have a quite lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on makes you remember the way you felt with the Latina. It's not arousing, though more like magnetic. You find it hard to argue. Even though you're still suspicious of her authority over you, her charm momentarily wins you over. Sophie leads you to a luxurious silver Rolls-Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven, middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately. Where did we leave off? I believe I started telling you a bit more about our customs. You've heard the prince refer to our traditions. Chief among them is the masquerade. As you might have gathered from us assembling at the Nietzsche Gallery, after closing time, our comings and goings and doings tend to be somewhat secretive. We do not advertise our existence. We allow myths and modern fiction to morph and muddle the facts. So to the vast majority of kine, we remain bedtime stories and pulp culture icons. Say, is that one television show about the vampire angel still popular? You shake your head in confusion. She shrugs and continues talking, looking a little bit more dejected than before. Our clandestine ways help us remain safe, allow us to explain away the occasional trip-up to the rational minds of the 21st century humanity, and dictate much of our interactions with mortals. So, if it's such a secret, then I'm guessing your driver's a vampire too? Oh dear, Gregory here? No, not a vampire, though he is a loyal servant, and as such trusted to not spill our secret lives in right. You'll realize that with time that such help is welcome. Gregory watches over me during the day hours. Sunburns are kind. That's why we take our rest when it rises. It's more akin to being dead than asleep, as I'm sure you've already experienced. But not everything you've heard about vampires is true. Some more folk-related threats are just legend, or occasionally a minor nuisance. Garlic, running water. Even religious symbols don't repel us unless the wielder is uniquely pure and godly. Stakes through the heart, though, that's something to avoid. They don't destroy, but they do paralyze us. You're familiar with the sensation, I'm sure. You hear her point to the closed wound in your chest, though the tattered clothes where the stake entered are more of a reminder of your defiance at this point than any pain or discomfort is. For a second, you expect your heart to beat faster. Then you remember it's impossible. Well, that's just another reason to have somebody like trusty old Gregory making sure you're safe when you drift away. We have many enemies, and they often know their advantage lies with daylight. You mentioned enemies. I guess that makes it necessary to watch each other's backs. Can you count on other vampires for that? She surprises you by letting out a soft chuckle before answering. No. Our little sect supplies social interactions aplenty, but it doesn't really encourage counting on someone. Support given in exchange for favors? Yes. That's more like it. Long-term solidarity does occur in the Camarilla, but we are a very politicalized organization by necessity. Loyalty is to your sire, to your prince, and to the sect. When you're in Elysium, like we were tonight, the sect can appear to be a monolith. The reality is more complex. Outside an official gathering, shady deals and quid pro quo mentality reigns supreme. She seems to be lost in thought and falls silent for a while, leaving you to ponder all the things that you've learned tonight. It still feels absolutely unreal, but as piece after piece of knowledge falls into place, the image becomes almost like an entirely logical jigsaw puzzle. Whatever you wouldn't believe on your own, you've witnessed. Many questions swarm your thoughts, but the one you keep returning to is what makes your place in this new reality should be. The car stops. You're in the city in front of an old but well-renovated apartment building. We're here. Would you like to see your lodgings? I get my own apartment? Neat. Consider it my first of many gifts that I am able to grant in exchange for loyalty. Come upstairs. She leads you through a small hall that, with the night guard who greets Miss Langley with a good evening, and you take the stairs up to the second floor. Sophie opens the door to the room 209. Inside are all the amenities you could expect from a modern apartment, and some you wouldn't have even deemed necessary, but the previous night included thick blinds on the windows. The back room has a comfortable looking bed and thick steel door with several sturdy looking locks, but no windows. Well, how do you like it? It's nice. It, in this very agreeable way, lacks character. Well, I would appreciate it if you could hold back the need to redecorate. I'm actually really fond of the decor here. Tomorrow, I will take you hunting and discuss the blood in more detail. I'll let you get comfortable. The keys are by the television set. I will come back to pick you up tomorrow night. Use the back room for rest. You can lock the doors just in case. It stings a bit when she leaves. It's like the room suddenly became a few shades dimmer. You inspect the kitchen, hoping to find something to drink. Nothing. No regular food either. Feels strange that Kadir could be more thoughtful host than your new sire, even if only in that respect. You briefly wonder if the sheriff might have a hidden side. With nothing left to do, you lie on the couch with the TV playing on the background for company. Columbo reruns. Kojak reruns. President of the United States got himself into serious trouble again. President of the United himself got himself out of trouble again. Pundits start yelling over each other about things that seem a little bit less insignificant just 2 days ago. You start drifting off, reflecting about another night of confusing conversation and worldview-shattering revelations. How many more before you finally understand what happened to you and what you're supposed to do now? You keep coming back to the life you left behind, the people you should contact, the things you want to pick up from your apartment. You wonder when you'll have the chance for either. As you start to feel the same tiredness that made you drift into the cold sleep last night, you settle in the back room. The bed is comforting. The lack of windows less so. You leave the light bulb on. Looking at it, you realize it's the closest you'll ever come to staring at the sun on a breezy summer day again. A wave of melancholy overwhelms you. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades and you take a plunge into the darkness again. Sinking. 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 Well, that was about an hour and a half, and I am enjoying the hell out of this story so far. I hope everybody else is too. We will continue this on next time. Coteries of New York seems pretty interesting. I'm enjoying Eric. Let's go ahead and check out a few things. We have our dictionary here, which is actually pretty nice for newcomers. Let's see what we got. Kindred. The Camarilla term for vampires as a whole, or a single vampire, according to the rumors. This term came about in the 15th or 16th century after the Anarch revolts. Camarilla, a major sect of vampires devoted primarily to maintaining the masquerade through influence manipulation of mortal society. Fledgling, a newly created vampire still under their sire's protection. Prince, a vampire who has claimed a given expanse of domain as their own, generally a city, and supports that claim against all others. The term can refer to either sex. The urge to feed is the hunger. For vampires, the hunger replaces all other drives with its own powerful call. The embrace, the act of transforming a mortal into a vampire. The embrace requires a vampire to drain her victim, and then replace the victim's blood with a bit of their own. Vessel, a source of blood for sustenance or pleasure, primarily mortal. Cain, the mythical figure considered to be the first and most powerful vampire. Some vampires refer to themselves as Cainites, members of the race of Cain. The masquerade, the habit or tradition of hiding the existence of vampires from humanity. Designed to protect vampires from destruction at the hands of mankind, the masquerade was adopted after the medieval Inquisition claimed many kindred unlives. The traditions. The 6 traditions from the core framework for governments among the kindred. The first tradition, the masquerade, thou shalt not reveal thy true nature. The second tradition, domain, thy domain is thy own concern. All others owe thee respect while in it. The third tradition, the progeny, thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. The fourth tradition, the accounting, those thou create are thine own children. ... Their sins are thine to endure. Does that actually open? No, it does not. The fifth tradition is hospitality. Honor one another's domain. Without the word of acceptance, thou art nothing. Wow. The sixth tradition, destruction. Thou art forbidden to destroy another of thy kind. That right of destruction belongeth only to thine elder. Kine, a term for mortals, largely contemptuous. The phrase kindred and kine refers to the world at large, everything. Sect, a group of vampires arguably united under a common philosophy. The two most widely known sects currently populating the night are the Camarilla and the Anarch movement. The Sire, a vampire's begetter, the kindred who created them. Elysium, the place where vampires may gather without fear of harm. Court functions in Elysium are strictly kept apart from mortals surrounded by secrecy. But the Elysium building itself could be a public museum, an art gallery, a club. Bergen is an Anarch Elysium. The Louvre is a Camarilla Elysium. Interesting. Sheriff. The sheriff ensures that the traditions and the decrees of the prince are obeyed, hunts down violators, and delivers their just punishment. In the case of minor violations or known enemies of the Camarilla, the sheriff is usually authorized to act as both judge and jailer, executioner. But when it comes to greater offenses, they will deliver the accused to the court to be judged. Oh, good. We can also go to unread, the Beast. I don't understand how I didn't read the Beast. I guess I just skipped it. The Beast. The inchoate. I am bad at words. The inchoate drives and urges that threaten to turn a vampire into a mindless, ravening monster. That is very nice that we have the option to go to unread, because we will do this at the end of every video unless people tell me to shut the fuck up. I also want to take a look at, what is this? Oh, we got a log. So let's go ahead. Tell you what, we will save the log for... Hold on. Okay, this is literally the entire damn thing typed out. Okay, so never mind. We will not be reading that log because we're reading the log as we go. So we are done for today. I'd like to know how everybody thought about this. If you enjoyed it, please press like, share if you know of anybody who enjoys my sumptuous voice while reading the Coteries of New York. And please drop a comment on your thoughts If you've read through this before, what clan did you play? If you had any fun with it, I am very, very interested in interacting with individuals who are involved in the World of Darkness stuff too. So please, 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 please pay attention to me. No. Also, there is a very active Facebook page called Voivode Maquette Presents Our World of Darkness. Also, where we discuss all things World of Darkness, not just Vampire, although unfortunately that currently has the majority of the topics in question. We welcome more. I also welcome artwork and discussions and stuff, and we cover all things World of Darkness, New World, Old World, Imaginary World. If you guys got fan fiction, I would love to see that too. And we are also discussing the Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition game that we will be playing on Roll20 shortly as we finish getting our characters all set up. I think at the time of this recording, which is March 17th, 2021, we still are in the lookout for 3 players. We're going to start with 12. I'm sure we got the 3, but lazy people. I will be opening up to more. Hey, puppies, no barking in the background. I will be opening up to more. I believe Roll20 will allow me 50 players, but I've never run an online game like this before, and I'm kind of in the mood to see how I do with 12 people before I jump into a 50-person game, because, yeah. So let's just save and exit. Thank you again, everybody, for joining me for this one, and I am Voivode Maquette. This is Our World of Darkness reading of Coteries of New York for Vampire the Masquerade. Have a good evening.